And back to late night in the Midlands. Doctor, welcome back.
Well, here we are. Thank you for having me back.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have you. And whenever there's some new type of Planet X stuff coming out, you know you're the first one I go after.
Well, we have, a couple hours tonight, huh?
Yes, sir, we do.
Well, let's tackle this from a little different perspective than what we usually plunge right in and rock 'em, sock 'em, and this is that and that. I want to ease into something that I've noticed has been happening across the planet in terms of its inability to successfully deal with ever-growing intensity of Mother Nature's natural events. I know I hate to start out, with having to talk about all the bad stuff going on, because it's going on. No one's talking about the escalating earth changes. There's so much other garbage out there,
There is.
Congressman Wieners runs the mayorship. Give me a break. There are serious things that are taking place across this place we call home, planet Earth. They call it third rock from the sun and all that stuff. We're going to touch on Planet X too, so don't worry. This is about Planet X because we're talking about the effects of it, but I'll talk about Planet X in a separate conversation. I want to go back to what's going on locally, regionally, nationally, hemispherically, and then globally.
Okay.
All earthquake, volcanic, fire, wind, tsunami, solar, all of these aberrations, all of them are totally off the chart as of this moment in time. They're at their all-time highs. Some of them, the records have now been broken 2 or 3 times in the last year. People are just not awake. They're not interested. Maybe they are, but they don't know how to figure out where to find the information. For instance, if you want to have some fun and go, oh my God, I can't believe how many earthquakes there are, I want you to try something. I personally subscribe to USGS, and I've asked them to send me email alerts on any and all earthquakes. Well, let's just say from 5 above. Forget about all the 4s and the 3s that set up the bigger ones. And I asked for a specific region. I said I wanted the Ring of Fire. We all know what the Ring of Fire is.
Oh, yeah.
And by gosh, they set me up. And for the last year and a half, I get 2 or 3 a day. I'll repeat that again. I get 2 or 3 a day. 6, 7, 9, 7, 7, 6, 6 and a half. And they're all coming up and down, just like running a marathon from one end of the Ring of Fire to the other. They ring from up in the Aleutians all the way down to the Pacific and all the way back up, all the way around. I mean, it's like charm. They're up 450%. I don't know if that really rings your bell or not.
Oh, absolutely.
I didn't say 4.5%. I said 450%. And the severity and the depths are getting shallower and shallower. That's not good.
No, that's not good.
That's not good. Now, we've already talked about danger of earthquakes and how to do this. What's the matter? Oh, my goodness. Well, Mike, we have an interruption. What's the matter, little guy? One of my kitty cats every once in a while when the wind blows, and we've had a little wind tonight, my one little kitty cat, come on, Rascal, my little beautiful American gray, he whines like a little child. Let's digress for a second. We've got 2 hours, right? Two and a half hours?
Yes, we do.
I wanted to. We're still talking about the Earth changes thing. We're not changing channels. I want to shift it to what's happening to the animal world in all of this stuff. My cats are becoming extremely aware of slight changes taking place either in rain or wind or thunder. They used to never be afraid of the thunder and lightning. Never. I've had them every 4 years. In the last 13, 14 months, they've all developed this strange, unsettling, uncanny fear, and they all hide deeply into a closet as they can, as if they understand, as if they already understood about tornadoes. And that's the point.
Mm-hmm.
I think they instinctively know when these events are about to happen. So I'm learning from them, and they're teaching me about how to get prepared. That's how serious I take all of the things that you and I talk about.
Absolutely. And Dr. Rand, I had mentioned to you earlier about this Google Sky image that's out there. And, and I went and checked the coordinates, about 4:30 in the morning after my show last night. And sure as can be, it is there. It's moving right along, I guess. But now you...
Of course. It's on its outward passage, but it's still close. And it's still disturbing our sun. I guess we've segued into Planet X, I guess, huh?
Yes, we have.
Well, I mean that's fine. That's what we do, you and I.
Right.
All right. Well, we had left off where I'm now so in tune with my 5 rescued kitty cats, my dear friends, that they're teaching me, and I hope I'm teaching them, because I've taught them where I've got emergency stashes of food and water for them in several parts of the house, in case I am struck with something. At least they'll have food up and down. See, people got to realize those animals are in my charge. If something happens to them, I have to deal with myself because I wasn't prepared, or I didn't care, or whatever. The point is, they're lives. They're not human lives, but they're lives, and they're our souls. All right. So I'm beginning to put all the pieces together now, even far closer than the last time you and I were together with your audience. Everything, I have to say it right from the beginning of the show, Michael. There isn't a thing you and I have talked about. There isn't a statistic we have cited. There isn't a source we've led you to. There isn't an untruth that we've spoken that you cannot go out and show us that we are 100% correct. We have been right in all of our predictions. And if there's any exaggeration, I held back on how severe I thought some of it was going to be to look at that last phase of the tornado.
Yeah.
We can't even begin to understand the destructive force. They say that the tornado that tore through that is in Missouri, wasn't it, or was it Oklahoma?
Oklahoma, I believe it was, yeah.
Was possibly off the charts at a 5.5 to a 6, which has never been reported before. See? And out of hand.
Sure. 5s used to be rare.
For a long time. Now, there is nothing we can do about it. There is nothing we can physically do or environmentally do to stop any of it from happening. Hey, now, I hate to keep stopping here. Now, Rascal, come on, buddy. There, boy. There's nobody here. Come on, sweetheart. I hate to take the time, Michael, but that animal's very special to me.
Oh, it's
quite
all right.
And he was crying like a little baby. Come on over, say hi to Michael. Here he comes. Where's Rascal? He'll come over and say hi. All right. They all like you, by the way. They listen to your show all the time.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, they even have union cards. All right. Little levity here. We gotta keep this extremely forthright and serious, but at the same time, gotta have a little fun here now and then. So, I figure let's do like a prediction.
Okay.
Sometimes it can be very dangerous. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they're not. I don't care. Mine have been right almost 99.99%.
And I could verify that too. You have been right on. I mean, when I first started this show, you were like one of my first guests that I had on, and you've been on ever since. And you kept telling me the earthquakes were going to pick up, the tornadoes and the storms were going to get worse. And
this was 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, almost 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I am not pleased to say that these predictions have been almost perfectly correctly true, but more importantly, I think that I'd be safe on making a positive prediction. If we can hold all of this together until September or October of 2016, and the Earth doesn't suddenly rip itself apart with a series of earthquakes or some other catastrophic thing, we might make it through. I've said that from the beginning. This was not forecast to be, nor was it destined to be as serious as the last time that this so-called Planet X, which is not a planet, it's a brown dwarf star. I guess we're going to have to do the little Earth thing real quick, huh?
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
We jumped into it, didn't we, huh?
We did.
Boots and ankles deep, huh? Okay, here we go. All right, what is Planet X? Planet X is not a planet. It is a brown dwarf star. This brown dwarf star was originally part of our solar system that goes back possibly 10 to 12 billion years in time. And during that time, we believe that there were originally 12 planets that were designed, constructed, and placed into orbit around the sun, which was placed there under the control of another star. Now we're getting deep into it, Michael. You better break out the vodkas, okay? There were originally 12 planets in this solar system. There were 3 suns. I'll take this one step at a time. There's the central sun that we know and love every morning. There was a little baby sun, which ultimately became Wormwood, or relabeled as Planet X and 1,000 other names. And there is this big, giant, blue-black, probably 30 times the size of our sun, anchoring the sun and our solar system. This blue-black sun is a huge mass, and people might even consider it a black hole, a billion or so miles from us. Now in space, that ain't such a big, I mean, not really, that's a lot of miles, a billion miles, right?
It sure is.
But considering that our solar system and everything in it circles around a much larger mass of stars called the Milky Way galaxy. Now, this Milky Way galaxy is roughly 75,000 miles thick at its center, and in circumference, it's probably 275,000 light years across. So when you look down on it, it's known as the plane of the ecliptic. You see the swirling mass of stars. Now, I said swirling. Which way were they? You know which way the Milky Way swirls, Michael?
I want to say clockwise, but it's probably.
And etch their images in the cave that you'll find absolutely all over the world. If you really want to study caves like I've been doing, what you got to do is you got to read and get on the internet. You'll find that almost every major cave drawing ever discovered of any value, of any consequence, shows flying saucers in them, as well as a very strange companion sun to ours. Now, I wonder why that is. What did they know? You know, they were just savages, right?
Yeah, apparently.
Well, suppose these savages had sky visitors, or what they called sky people. The legends go that the early hominids, call them cavemen all the way up to Neanderthal, all spoke of and knew about those sky people in their flying shields. Very descriptive words. Sky people in their flying shields, like flying saucer shields. It's even in Vatican paintings, and some say it's even in the Last Supper. It's used the Last Supper. So, check me out. Don't take my word for it, folks. Check me out. So, Planet X has been around a long, long time. Basically, what happened was that a large, potentially planetary-sized rock asteroid, it's something big. Let's say it was the size of Mars or the size of the Earth. This object was that big. It's believed that it came smashing through the plane of the ecliptic of our solar system, traveling in the opposite motion, being that it was coming in a clockwise trajectory, which means if it made contact with any object in our solar system of any size, there would be an instant collision, as I explained earlier, like two freight trains on the same track.
Right.
Because you're going in opposing directions. Well, this object comes careening through. The 12 planets were basically arranged just like they are, except there was a huge rocky. It's not understood why this particular planet appeared to be so dead, but it was a big planet. It was probably the size of the Earth, but it was all solid rock. It was called Marduk, M-A-R-D-U-K, Marduk. It's all through history. The term Marduk brings fear in people's hearts because the whole portrait of it is like an evil killing thing. Anyway, the first solar system object that this incoming rock, the size of the Earth, makes impact, a direct hit with Marduk. Because Marduk's orbit was way out away from Saturn and also Mars, because Marduk was in a position between Mars and Saturn, the open void space, kind of in the middle. But it was way out of the inner ring. So when the collision occurred, it smashed it into trillions and billions and billions of pieces, which eventually formed into what is now known as our asteroid belt. And you'll find that the asteroid belt resides right in between Mars and Saturn. I didn't make this up, folks. I'm not making any of this up, so check it out. So when that happened, not only did this object break apart, but big pieces of Marduk were sent crashing inward through the interior of the solar system on their way to the sun. And some pieces actually did hit the sun. Another planet that we believe was struck was Mars. That was the next closest planet, and it dealt Mars a depth blow. We believe that Venus, possibly even Mercury. Do you know that they just now discovered what they think is ice at the top of Mercury's pole?
Yes. Yeah, I heard.
That was just announced by NASA. What? I thought Mercury was, a pillar of fire, 8,000 degrees. Well, anyway, we believe that Venus and Earth and Mars were all scheduled to bear light. Now, I didn't say human light. Didn't say human light. We believe, as is the legend, in our book, by the way, the name of our book is The Return to Planet X. So anybody that's interested in what we're talking about, can I flip the commercial in?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, all right, cool. Anything that Michael and I are talking about, everything that we're talking about is in my book. It's really interesting. You can get them at my website, www.returntoplanetex, or through Michael's show, or simply call me. I'll give you my phone number, 901-236-9660. I am accessible, and I do answer my phone. And I'll work out a deal with you and send you a discounted book, and I'll sign it for you. The bookmark. So we'll come back to more stuff about that later. So Mars takes a direct hit. In fact, it hit it so hard that it's believed that this a big piece of either Marduk or this rocky asteroid hit just below Mars' southern hemisphere. And there, if you look there, there's a huge, ugly bulge that sticks out of Mars that no one has been able to explain. They photographed it, and it's just too weird. It's like a tumor bulging out of a stomach. Excuse the graphic description. And it's there. You can see it if you have access to those pictures.
And I'll tell you something, Dr. Rand. I think that there was at one point, if not life on Mars, that life maybe from this planet or another planet was on Mars, because I've seen quite a few pretty convincing photographs of what looks to be like pyramids and even faces, monuments that are built there. Interesting stuff. But go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's quite all right. Listen, it's your show. All right.
But, hey, you're the man with the knowledge.
Listen, don't argue with the boss. I just took a little slug of nice cold. I love sipping cold water. Okay, so we got as far as Marduk being destroyed, other pieces being sent inward through the solar, into the solar system, eventually with a trajectory toward the sun. Another piece hits planet Earth, big time. There's been a lot of conjecture as to what started this whole point of continental drift, because in the beginning, 7.5, 8 billion years ago, there was only one continental mass. It was called Pangea. And it was all unified. One long, stretchy, twisty piece. And if you cut out all of take a surface map and go ahead and take the time to cut out all the different continents, you'll find they all come together quite nicely, and you go, really? It's true. We think that a very, very large piece of something came slamming into the Earth's atmosphere, and its impact area was approximately where the Mediterranean Sea is. In fact, that's probably what caused the Mediterranean Sea be hollowed out like that. It was like an impact crater, and the oceans of the world filled it in. And after another couple of billion years, the Mediterranean Sea became very refined. And when this impact occurred, it began what's known as the global continental drift theory. And once that started, of course, we have what we now have. Like I said, if you shrink the pieces back, they all come together. So, how else did that change the dynamic on the planet is partly conjecture, but it's believed that the entire planet was hit so hard that that's why we have it tilt. And that may have been fortuitous for us, because that tilt gives us our climate change. Otherwise, if we probably were flying in perfect balance, probably everything would, summer would be summer, winter would be winter, whatever. Anyway, another piece flew inward and hit Venus directly, killing it instantly killing Venus. Mars suffered a slower death. When it punctured Mars's atmosphere, it all escaped. The explosion was so violent that Mars lost its atmosphere, and of course, they still believe that there was water and oceans on Mars. It all got sucked up into space. The piece that hit the Earth, caused continental drift, probably stopped the planet in its tracks. I'm sure that there were huge earthquakes and unbelievable. That's what they believe could have caused the rise of the Andes and the Rockies, because all of those, although they're all old, they're still pretty much grouped together, within a billion years of each other. You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
that would explain that. It's hard to believe that it took Mount Everest, 7 billion years. I think it came up a little quicker than that. Anyway, another piece, after destroying part of Earth, all of Venus, a large part of Mars and Mars, another large piece went flying directly through the pathway of the other planets. Huge piece. Big. Right toward the sun. And as either God would have directed it, if this is, the universe belongs to God, I'm not going to throw religion in here, but something created all this. Can you imagine the computer program that just created the solar system?
And I believe that too. I believe that this was all created. And I don't get into...
I guess the question is who, though?
Yeah, exactly. Because, everything...
Or what?
Yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't it be terrible if it was something called a what, not a who? I mean, all right. So, this big piece goes flying off directly at the sun. I don't know, it could have been as big as the moon, it could have been as big as our Earth. Now, this baby sun, which we talked about, remember, is the size of Saturn, but 60 times its mass. And to make a long, horrible story short, it had a head-on collision. Head-on. With this object. Instantly killing its little fusion machine. Killed it. And it spun it 180 degrees out of its orbit and sent it like a bullet, cascading out of the solar system, out deep into space, headed toward the big blue-black giant. Now, just the fact that when this thing was cascaded out, it was cascaded out toward and in the direction of the blue-black sun. Now, somebody had to program that. Otherwise, it would have just gone out, you see, just gone out into space with nothing to stop it. So what happened was, whatever computer program designed that disaster, it turned out sent this little object. Now, this little object is this little dead baby sun. And when they die, they become known as brown dwarfs stars. Might be interesting if you want to check out what a brown dwarf star is. It's either in my book or there's tons of stuff on the internet. By the way, there are 100 books that have been written about Planet X. 100 of them. And they're all pretty damn good. But luckily, mine was one of the very first. And so I'm really pleased to have that legacy behind me. Now there's another 100 books. I would check them all out. If you can afford it, check out as many as you can, but start with mine first. I got the commercial in, right?
That's right.
All right. All right, back to this little sun was cast out upon a long, narrow, skinny elliptical orbit, which takes it approximately 1,800 years, traveling at hundreds of thousands of miles per hour, out into space. It's probably like the billion miles we're talking about to get to this blue-black giant. And it's cast out in that direction, and once it's cast out, it follows where it goes. It follows where it goes. And it goes directly back to the big blue-black giant. And when it gets there, after 1,800 years of traveling, it's cast again, slingshotted back out from behind the blue-black giant, way up and over it, and out it comes back toward our solar system, because that's its trajectory. And it's always accurate. Always, always accurate. Never fails.
Right.
And about every 3,600 years, so that's 1,800 out and 1,800 back. Now that also takes in the amount of time it takes for it to go around the blue-black giant and get back to us. It's about somewhere around 3,600 years. It can be off by as much as 100 years or 200 years, but it's pretty much close. This time, it was real close.
I see.
Real close. This is within 4 years. How about that? Predicted. The last time it was here, and everybody want to write this down, you can check it out, was approximately 1447 BC, before Christ, BC. Because that's the same time period that Moses was leading the Israelites out of slavery and bondage in Egypt, where they had been slaving for over 400 years, building monuments and buildings and tombs and pyramids. That was that whole story about Moses. So you see, we can't get away from the biblical aspect. And while I'm there, if anybody has a Bible handy, grab it and go to the book of Revelation, which is the last book of the Bible, and you go to chapter 8, write this down, chapter 8, verse 11, and I'll quote it. And the name of the star is wormwood. One word, wormwood. It has nothing to do with the Russian word for Chernobyl. Forget it, forget it, forget it.
Yeah, I've heard that. One of my colleagues says.
It's nonsense. That is not what we're talking about. Okay. In chapter 8, in the book of Revelation, completely described. And that's the key that I needed to start writing my book, because I found it described perfectly in biblical scripture. So how's that for an endorsement of the truth? If you believe in the Bible and in the Word. You follow me?
Right. Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay. So chapter 8 deals with all of the effects, describes what this phenomena is, why it comes, and how it works, and all of that, and what it does. And it even names it. And the name is, it calls it a star. It calls it a fallen star in Scripture, chapter 8. So it predicts its coming, and some say that there's a code within chapter 8 of the book of Revelation which actually describes it as being 3,600 years in orbit. I'm still looking for that one, but I can understand it. If it's not there, I can understand it even better if it is there. And I think I have an idea where it's at. I'm working on it. All right. Next show, we'll talk about that.
All right. Let me hit you with a question here real quick, Dr. Rand.
Sure.
The sun. What exactly is the sun made? I mean, some people speculate that it's a stargate and that it's, just a ball of gases that has no core. I mean, do we really know what the sun is made up of exactly?
Of course.
And what is that?
It's a fusion. It's basically a fusion machine, and it does have a core, and it's molten. And it's a huge electromagnetic dynamo. On top of everything else, it's an electromagnetic dynamo machine that controls enough energy to extend this energy out to the entire solar system. What do you think holds each planet in its orbit? I mean, we can go way, way out here, Michael. It get really confusing.
Well, let's do that.
Oh, you like to do that?
Whatever it takes. I want to understand this because, I don't know. Some people think that it could be a Stargate, and if it's what science says it is,
it might be, but that's not what we're talking about.
True.
We're talking about the construction and what is and why is the sun. Now, it might be a Stargate, but that's not what we're going to concentrate on. We're going to concentrate on the physical properties of the sun.
Dr. Rambeck, and I just want to say this. I'm okay with controversy. I'm okay. People disagree. But, if you're going to bring proof, and for me, YouTube videos and Google pictures don't do it for me. I'm talking about solid evidence. I deal with science and fact. And if anybody's going to dispute anything, at least have something, more than just a YouTube video to back it up. And that's just how I roll. I mean, if I believed everything that everybody told me, I'd be afraid to leave the house. I'd be shaking like a leaf in a corner, wrapped up in seaweed or something. I mean, what is the sun? Why does this do that? I don't know. I'm not an expert. I'm not claiming to be. I don't have all the answers. But when I bring a guest on like Dr. Rand, he's got one hell of a background. So, I can't argue with him about anything that he's telling me because I don't know. But I do go by his background, the evidence that he presents, the evidence that science presents. And it tells me that, I don't know, maybe the sun could be a Stargate, this, that, and the other thing. But for everything to be an illusion, then why do we even bother? Why do this show tonight? Why get up and go to work tomorrow? If it's just an illusion, I mean, what's the consequences of not going along with an illusion? So, believe me, I have nothing against anybody who disagrees. But you can't call somebody wrong until you can prove them wrong. And that's just what I wanted to say about that. So the lines are open. I mean, you're more than welcome to call in if you've got the answers and we're wrong. 803-369-3608. I mean, it's that easy. Feel free to call in. But other than that, Dr. Rand, let's get back to it, my friend. We are back. And,
Alrighty.
Alrighty. I hear a lot of wild things, Dr. Rand. I really do. It's just... I can't grasp onto everything, not without proof. I'm just one of those people.
That shows that you have discernment and that you understand various levels of intelligence and understanding because you are a seeker.
Yeah. Okay? I want the truth. I don't want theory. I don't want somebody's opinion. Really, I mean, I don't mind it, but if you're going to tell me this is the way it is, I've got to see some proof. And with Planet X, I've been on both sides of the fence with that thing for a long time, and I believe it's out there. I have no doubt that it's out there, but You know, are there going to be little aliens coming with it and all the things the stories that people write on it?
Well,
I'm not so
sure. We still got plenty of time tonight to cover a whole lot of ground, right?
We sure do.
Then what we'll do is we'll reserve a part of the show for a discussion on another one of the planets that was part of the 12 called Nibiru, which is the Sitchin source of his thinking, that Nibiru was or is the planet of the giants of old in the Bible, the Nephilim.
Oh yeah, I've heard
Remember
that. Oh
those little stories and things?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Now, supposedly the Nephilim came here unannounced and commingled and impregnated, I guess, a form of human womanoid way back. And that is what probably caused the sudden development of Homo erectus, or modern day man. In other words, somebody was tampering with somebody. You follow me?
Sure, and there's proof that the giants were here and they're finding skeletons. But you won't hear about it on the mainstream media, will you?
Now even that's covered in biblical lore. You see? In fact, it's in the Bible.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and I don't want to get all entangled into that. That's not the point.
No, it's not.
Other than there's another connection to Planet X. Because some people, some strains of thought, believe that this brown dwarf star, which does give off its own heat signature, but it's not much, could be towing behind it in its wake Nibiru. And we haven't seen Nibiru yet. Personally, I don't think we will. But if we suddenly discover and suddenly start seeing another planet, possibly the size of Earth, then we'd have some thinking to do, wouldn't we, everybody? Huh?
Yeah.
Sitchin's right. Now, I believe that there was a planet Nibiru. The question is, where is it? It may have escaped the influence of the solar system because it might have been caught up by the influence of the little baby sun when it got sucked out into its orbit. You see and this is far-fetched, but it's totally possible. It could be that when that little baby sun, the size of Saturn, big, 60 times its mass, went whizzing by. Now, kids, no fighting. Now I got Samantha and Shadow kind of hissing and snarling at each other. Come on, guys. Come on. I'm on the radio. Listen, I bring home the bacon here. Peace. That wasn't very nice, was it? So, it's possible that when this baby sun was kicked out of its orbit, hey, can you hear that, Michael?
Yeah, I hear that.
Hey.
The kids are fighting, huh?
They're just playing, but it's irritating. Now, come on, guys. Now, Shadow's here. He wants to be in the act. You know, I'm going to ask for your union card. Next time you do this, I want to see your union card. Yeah, you know how far that got me, Michael?
Oh, probably not far at all.
Both of them said, forget your union card. All right, back to this seriously. It's possible that this little baby sun, upon being kicked out into a 3,600-year-long orbit, to back and from around that big blue-black monster sun out there, that it caught in tow planet Nibiru. It's very possible. Now, That would explain where it's been and why the story comes back and forth about the Nephilim. Because it's reported in, go back into this, it's all in the book. Read the book. It took me 11 years to research it and 7 years to write it. So, I can only tell you that anything is possible. Now, there's still one other planet unaccounted for. Then we're down to 9, which we have. Pluto's back in as a planet again. Did you know that?
Yeah, didn't they call it what was the name for it? I don't know. Was it Junior Planet or something?
I don't know. I'm glad Pluto's back because I like Pluto, okay? All right. So, if there's any truth to any of this, it would sure explain a lot. Because we believe that this little baby sun, which the book of Revelation is identified as being called wormwood, it tells why. You gotta read it. Chapter 8, the whole chapter, read it. By the way, one more quick thing, and then we'll get off the book thing.
Okay.
It's reported that the book of Revelation was written through John the Baptist, who was in exile for his life on the island of Patmos in the Aegean Sea, but it was delivered to him by an angel. He delivered the information from Jesus Christ. It says so at the very beginning of the book of Revelation. It identifies who wrote it. Christ himself says, I wrote it. And that those who read it are blessed, and those that understand it are blessed even more. So, it's worth a read. Certainly at least chapter 8 tells all about wormwood. Now, all right, if there's a Nibiru, we're going to find out. I can't say how long. I can only tell you this. I believe that we make it through September, October, all right, September of 2016, without any major global earthquake, tragedy, or tsunami, or some other stupid thing. By the way, there's been all of those things I just mentioned. We will have escaped the cone of the escape magnetism of this planet disengaging from its dance with the sun. God, I hope that didn't sound. Did you understand that?
I did understand. So, basically it's still in a position where it's screwing with our sun. And
it will it'll gradually cease around April or May of 2016.
Is it also messing with some of the outer planets?
Messing with all of them.
Yeah. Okay.
It's messing with all of them. Of course it does. It's a wave. Okay, let's put it this way. It's a mass wave machine. Its mass alone moves space. It's getting kind of deep. But you got the point, right?
Sure.
Okay. Now, once this thing disengages, right now, they're electromagnetically dancing with each other and causing each other irritation. It's like two magnets. You've played with magnets, haven't you?
Yeah, and I was just...
One side they jam together, and the other side you can't. There's no way to touch them together.
Yeah, I was just explaining that to my son tonight. He gets a little concerned about these things, and he asks me about them. And I tell him, I say, if it happens, it happens. There's nothing you can do about it. If I find out it's true, I'll tell him. But I refuse to give scare tactics and say, yeah, this is what's going to happen if I don't know for sure.
It's been going on every 3,600 years. One. Mm-hmm. Now, it just happens to be, what is it? We have 7.5 billion people on the planet. Am I close?
Well,
Am I close?
I think it's closer to 7.
All right,
but
7.
It probably is up there now. Who knows? Every 6 months.
7 billion people on every piece of continental shelf in the world, with 60 to 70% of the population living on or near major oceans. And the rest of them are scattered out on big lakes like Chicago and Milwaukee. If Lake Michigan should take an earthquake pitch hit, you would have a lake that's almost 400 miles long, sometimes as much as 2,000 feet deep, full of water that could be lifted up like a bucket. You would wash Chicago away. Down, just remember that movie with the kid and the big thing that washed into New York and it held up in the public library.
Oh yes, yeah, Art Bell's movie. I think he.
Yeah, that could happen. Now, I'm not saying it's going to. It could happen to an inland lake like Milwaukee or Chicago or Detroit. So, we live in very perilous times. We live in very uncertain times. We live in very unprepared times. We also live in times of economic stress, political nonsense, monetary irresponsibility. Diseases are on the uptick. The whole planet is basically falling apart. Now, what can we do about it? Well, you can only look at it from an individual standpoint, because you're responsible for you.
That's right.
Now, if you're married and have a family, now it's not just you, it's you and the missus, and any number of kids, and any number and variety of pets. So suddenly, you damn well better be the person that makes the decisions and pulls the strings and provides the goods, because there ain't nobody else. Plus the people that are going to come to you for help, because they're going to know you stand tall. But see, none of this is easy to even talk about, much less face. Now, let's not look at it from the worst end of it, but let's look at it from the problem end of it. Tell me those people in Oklahoma in that tornado were prepared for anything that happened to them. It's a random toss of the dice, it appears to be. It can happen anywhere. A propane company blows up in Florida. Okay. I don't think there's a direct link here to Planet X, but these are bizarre times that we are living in.
Yeah,
It might have been a run at a terror attack to see if it would work. That's what the word is out now. It's not saying anything. Somebody was smart enough to figure out, blow up a propane tank farm, and I bet you blow the whole neighborhood apart. Maybe it was just human error. But strange things are happening. Okay? Now, where the hell is he going with this? It's real simple. It begins and ends with you, what you believe, what you know, what you think you know, what you think you should know, and then suddenly you realize that you don't know. That didn't confuse you, did it?
No, not at all.
All right. So, the first thing if you want to take as serious of the things we say, is just listen to what Michael and I are talking about. You want to tune us out, tune us out. It's your radio, it's your computer, you know,
That's
your
right.
power station. But if you're interested, at least hear us out.
And again, nobody has all the answers, you know.
No, and I don't claim that I do. I'm just telling you some of my observations.
Right.
Everything that we're talking about is in my book that it took me 11 years to research. So all I'm talking to you about is my basic research, what this whole thing is about. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Yeah. In order to unravel a mystery, you have to first of all figure out the riddle to unlock the mystery. You can't begin to just solve a mystery. You have to figure out that every mystery has a riddle. That's the fun of solving mysteries. And my riddle to solve was connecting all the dots to where it all made sense like an overlay. You see? Like when you do a picture puzzle, you find the pieces that fit together, don't you? That's the whole point of putting a picture puzzle together, is finding the pieces and figuring out where they go. And suddenly, you have a picture. Well, when I started out this research, which was, way back in 1983, I first started around 82, 83, following progress of the Iris telescope, and I remember in 83 when NASA announced Planet X was discovered out in space, flying towards the solar system from the region of Orion. They called it Planet X. NASA called it in print, was out for like 72 hours, radio, television, newspaper, and whap, it was gone like a dead cat.
That's right. Okay.
And it didn't resurface again, the story about Planet X, until I think it was April of 1983 or September of 1983, 84, when U.S. News and World Report wrote a follow-up article where, in fact, they named it as a incoming brown dwarf star. I got all these articles reprinted in my book. Everything that Michael and I are talking about, you can check out. All the references are there, all the page numbers, you can check it out. So, then it disappeared again. And then all these stories about Professor James McCanney and the strange ways he died and all this other stuff about talking about Planet X, and the whole storyline got started. And believe it or not, where there was smoke, there was fire. Yeah. And I've been researching this now for all those years. And I can only tell you that it gets weirder and weirder and even more weirder, if there's such a word. Everyone's involved in it. There's a whole industry involved in either hiding Planet X or trying to expose Planet X. Okay? Now, I will say that they're doing a great job, but when the dam breaks, and it's going to soon, you'll see. It's going to freak a lot of people out. Now, that's when it's going to get interesting in the big cities. In Chapter 7 of my book, I talk about the U.S. government and the other governments of the world, what they know, what they should know, what they do and what they don't do, and what they should be doing, what they can't do, and what they're getting away with. All of this in one chapter. It's called From Chaos, Order Out of Chaos. That's the New World Order necessity.
Yeah. You know, they've got all these underground facilities. They've got farms and cities underground. They've got seed banks. I mean, obviously, they know something we don't, or we're not supposed to.
Roland Emmerich gave it away in 2012. Now, I don't think they've got those ships built yet. I mean, we can't even build a rocket to go to the moon. All right, I'm not making fun of us guys. I'm only saying we couldn't afford to build a dam to hold the water back, okay?
If we bring our troops home, we'd certainly be in a lot better shape, but we won't go there.
I'm jabbing at that from the movie. We're going to be arguing about the budget now, taking distractions away from all the other issues. Isn't that convenient?
Oh, yeah, very convenient.
I don't want to get started, Michael.
All right, let's not.
They'll have people throwing rocks at us next.
That's okay.
Yeah. All right. So back to storyline. Make it through the 6th September of 2016. If we don't have any major storms, major earthquakes, major tornadoes, or major hurricanes, I'm a little worried about this season. It's been a little erratic, but it sure is alive. There's something brewing down there almost every day now. Not that that's terribly unusual, but it's kind of unusual this early. Remember, the thing doesn't end until November 30th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This isn't just now the end of July. Well, we'll see. Now, I'm hoping the U.S. is not challenged by anything in terms of the tropical storm. But I do think that the Gulf states might be, and I think that Mexico is going to take a couple of hits. I think the season is going to be south. I've been looking at it. I've been watching it. I've been tracking it. Let's see if my prediction is right. I'm not saying every storm is going to go south or straight across Mexico. Slam into the Yucatan, that kind of thing, or into Mexico itself. But if I'm right, then I'll also forecast toward the end of the season that the storms will go north. Beginning of the season, they're going to veer south. By the time November 30th rolls around in that vicinity for a late one, it'll be coming to the north. That's going to be my prediction. I could be wrong, and I hope I am. Okay? So let's see. Now, did I leave anything undone with Planet X? Yeah, they're covering it up. They have been covering it up. There's dozens of books about it. It's the best held, never kept secret. Isn't that cute?
Yeah, and when you ask NASA about it, I've seen live conferences where they've been asked this question, and they laugh at it, they wave their hand at it, but the fact is there is a lot of evidence. I remember back in '83 getting this science magazine in my science class in high school, and the teacher would hand it out to us once a week. We'd get it. And this 1 week, there it was. And I was excited. I said, oh, they found another planet. Maybe there's life on it. I didn't know the significance of it until later.
You still have it?
No, I wish I did. I don't.
Oh,
I was
it'd be worth a fortune.
Careless kid, Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's keep forging ahead here. What's our time mark? Where are we?
Well, in about 10 minutes, we've got a break, and then when we come back, we've got about another 35 minutes after that.
All right. Well, then let's start the wrap up. Talked about a lot of things tonight, a lot of strange things, a lot of weird things, things out of the Bible, things that fly through the air, aliens, flying saucers. We've covered all this stuff tonight. So how does that affect you? Well, all depends what you believe in. If you don't believe in any of this, God bless you. However, if you do want to learn more, and if you think you're curious about the things we're talking about, I'd go check it out. That is the first thing I would do tomorrow morning if I were you after listening to this show and this crazy guy. Well, you will find everything we've talked about tonight is true. Right down to the date. Now, knowledge is easily accessible if you just put the energy to find it. And this knowledge, as I often say, sets you free. What is it? Truth sets you free. Isn't that the phrase, Michael?
That is. Yes, the truth will set you free.
That is so really damn true. So I found the truth, and it did set me free on this subject. Thus came the book, Return to Planet X. Because I understand it for what it is now. It has nothing to do with mankind. It has everything to do with the universe and how the universe runs and whatever the forces are that are controlling the solar system. Do not assume for 1 minute the solar system controls itself. You'd be incredibly wrong. There are forces at work out there and in the Milky Way and in the galaxy that we have no idea of. We're not prepared to deal with that. That's not our job. We can't even exist as a humanity here on this planet without destroying ourselves, the planet, and everything we've built. That's what's happening. The whole planet is coming apart. Not only on the outside, but it's coming apart on the inside. The weather, the earthquakes, the disruptions, the oceans, the storms. She's going through her own changes right now. We just happen to be lucky enough to be riding on top of this thing called Earth, which is being subjected to things beyond our understanding or acceptance or willingness to share the truth.
Define forces. What do you mean? Other beings?
No.
Okay.
Well, don't discount that, Michael. You know me and ETs and aliens. How many times we talked about that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
And there's part of that, too. Because, okay, all right, let's slide it. Okay. All right, you brought it up, so now you're going to get it. All right? I told you that I also believe that there's going to be a form of what Christians have talked about called the rapture. Now, I don't quite buy it the way some of the evangelicals are preaching it, but I think they're on the right track. I do believe that in the past, God has sent his angels, like he did to Atlantis, and lifted off all the tribes. By the way, all the different Indian tribes that sprung up almost simultaneously, where do you think they all came from? The remnants of Atlantis. Because Atlantis was a chain of islands. It was not a continent. It formed a continent politically, but not geographically. It was all a lot of islands, like the Bahamas and like Bermuda. Those were all peaks of islands. And when Atlantis went down, when the Atlantic ridge collapsed, forming the trenches that are there, more on the eastern side of the Atlantic than the western side, all those structures were taken down. And we're still finding remnants of what was Atlantis. Incidentally, the island of North and South Bimini. And I know about this because I was so gifted. I've spent about 11 years with Jim Richardson and his flight crew at Opelika Flight Center and my dear friend J. Manson Valentine, who is the world famous botanist, cartographer, who studied bugs and entomology and all kinds of stuff, and Charles Berlitz. Together they wrote a book called The Bermuda Triangle. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yes, I do.
I was part of that research team, and I traveled with them. And that's what Planet X does. About every 3,600 years, it levels everybody's playing field. You see? And if it did come happened back in 1447, or we think it did, it sure leveled Pharaoh's playing field, didn't it? Now, that seems to have some kind of a God connection to it, because all of a sudden now it's a biblical thing, it's a religious thing, which is just the way circumstance is. So maybe there is a God component to this. I think there is. Why would it be in the Bible? Maybe it's his little way of giving the earth a slap in the face. Who knows? So you see, when I look at this, I look at it from all angles. And it's certainly not for mercenary purposes. I don't get rich from something like this. All I'm trying to do is share the knowledge, share the experience, and say, everybody, we should be better prepared. You should have that 30 to 60 days stash. Do you really have your 30, 60 days stash of food for each person in your household? And do you have enough water? You have at least 2 gallons a day per person for a month? Do you really have those kind of supplies? I don't even have those kind of supplies. So no, I'm not being unrealistic. But you can make some preparation. You should have a first aid kit handy. You should have your medicine stuff handy. You should have your pet supplies handy. By the way, if you have individual cats, you cannot put 2 cats in a cage. They will kill each other. I'm warning you. Do not ever put 2 cats in a cage, even if they don't have claws. They have teeth. So you need an individual carrying cage for each cat. I have 5. I have big ones for the boys and little ones for the girls. I have food in 5-gallon jugs. I have 5 of those. 2 of them are in the trunk of my car, along with 2 gallons of water. I could get stuck in my car. Who knows? Mm-hmm. I'm not being overly cautious. I'm just doing things that make sense. I have a stash of flashlights. 1 up, 1 down, 1 in each bathroom, and I got candles in each room. Why? Because I've been through blackouts here in Home Lake. We got hit with a tornado about 2.5 years ago that nearly sucked me out my front door because I was stupid enough to go out because I wanted to see what a tornado looked like. And it was right above me.
That would be me.
It was about 50 feet above me, and I almost got hit by I think it was a garbage can. It was huge. Anyway, I learn from my experience. Do not play with a tornado or think you can outrun them. It doesn't happen.
Who jumped on the bandwagon of every single thing that flies by my desk. I just, I'm kind of a proof kind of guy, and I think I've seen enough proof now that this object does exist. As far as what it's going to do or what's coming with it, that's the part I can't prove it, so I'm not going to scream and shout. I'm just going to simply say, be prepared for whatever it may be, because you just never know. But with that, we've got about another 20 minutes here with Dr. Rand. Then I've got some things I want to get into in the last half hour of the show. So with that, let's get back to it. The website, latenightinthemidlands.com. Become a member and be informed. And we are taking calls. Everybody was trying to call in the very beginning. And now that I'm taking calls, it's like everyone's just listening. 803-369-3608 if you've got a question for Dr. Rand. And we'll be here tomorrow night with Peter Kling for World Watches as well. But tonight, Dr. Rand. Dr. Rand, we are back. And I guess we're going to get into the what we should do to prepare ourselves part of the night, huh?
Okay. All right. Let's just go right to that.
All right.
First of all, you have to think about what you want to do about changing your present circumstance. I'm not saying it's bad or good. You need to sit down and you have to figure out who you are, where you are, why you are, and what you have to work with. going to be realistic. Look at reality. The hardest thing to do is to be real with yourself. So once you decide to tell yourself the truth and deal with reality, sit down, hell, get a ream of paper if you have to, and start writing out some directives to yourself. What do you need to do? What do I need to check? Do I have supplies? Do I have water? Do I even believe any of this stuff? Maybe I should find out about it. Do I have candles? Do I have matches? What good are candles if you can't light them? Doesn't that kind of speak to itself?
I think
Can't
so.
say how many people have candles. Oh yeah, I got lighters. Yeah, when those run out, you can't buy them anymore. What are you going to light your candles with?
Right.
So, just silly stuff like that. It's all in the book. In fact, in the book is a complete way. Chapter 7 deals with the government. You got to read that. It's important. Then it goes chapter 8. It's called self-preparation. There it is right there. The whole chapter devoted to it. Word for word, step by step. The last one is about how to get it and go about securing it. We even talk about firearms.
Right.
I'm not promoting anything. I'm only saying we discuss it. Okay. What we do individually, we do collectively. If the community is prepared, then the community survives. If the community is not prepared, the community goes down. If you're prepared, you might survive. If you don't, you might go down. And so will your family and your pets. Not a nice idea. It's all because of you, of what you did or didn't do. I just came back from 4 wonderful days in New Orleans about 3 weeks ago. And God bless those poor people. They have no idea what they're doing. I toured that whole levee deal up and down the river and all that stuff. They're just as vulnerable right now than they've ever been. Yeah, they rebuilt the dike. Okay, good. Supposedly better. Even a small tidal wave of 100 feet, the entire island. Actually, it is an island, by the way. It's hard to believe. It's all connected by causeways. New Orleans is like kind of a sandbar that sinks. That's why it's below the surface of the sea. Literally, it's below the surface level of the sea. It was charming. It was wonderful. The people are so nice. The food was good. The hotels were good. I just, I fear for them. I fear for all these coastal towns. They're not prepared. Look what Sandy did. They're still not rebuilt, Michael. They can't afford to rebuild. Insurance won't rebuild them. Can you imagine if we lose several coastal cities? Big earthquake? Forget it.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good.
They barely rebuilt. I told you I went to the Northridge, California earthquake of January 17, 1994. I'll never forget it. 4:22 in the morning. It was. By the time it was all over, 2 minutes and 20 seconds that passed by would seem like an eternity. I had been thrown about like a rag doll. I had a fractured rib. I had a black eye. I had a jammed finger. I had a ankle that was damaged, being thrown in and out of bed and against the headboard. And by the time that was done, the building that I was in was coming down on the side. There's nothing more horrible than to hear all the glass breaking into the bedroom and hear all the doors breaking. The house collapsed. It came off its foundation. and it collapsed because it tilted. It came sideways, and everything fell apart. And they dug us out. We were fine. Scared like hell. We were fine. The kid survived too. So he was with me in the bedroom, so he survived. Natural disasters are not going to go away anytime soon. The whole point is it can strike anywhere at any time. See any kind of disaster. Propane tanks blow up. I was very curious about that train guy that was going 180 miles an hour into that turn. The train in Spain, wasn't it?
Sure. Yeah.
Some pretty strange things going on with people. If you just track them, next time we get together, I'll put together some stories. We can look at it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
What we got, about 10 minutes?
Yes, we do.
10 minutes. Okay. Anybody out there got a question? I'll be happy to field a question.
No, actually, there are some who dispute some of this stuff, but they don't have the balls enough to call in. So I'll bring it up for you,
Okay.
or for them. Somebody had said that, well, Dr. Rand went under a different name, so like you're some kind of fake or something. You want to explain that real quick?
Sure.
Please do.
Of course I can explain it. Dr. Jason Rand is what's known as my nom de plume, the registered professional name as an author. There's nothing illegal, immoral, illicit, or complicated about it.
Well, this is coming from people who believe alligator people are coming to eat us. So, but go ahead.
Well, no, it's just that simple. I have a regular birth name, and I have a nom de plume. I also have a professional name as a recording artist. People don't know that. I have nearly 40 gold and platinum records, 2 Grammy nominations. I've done film and television. I don't need. I'm looking right now at a wall full of gold and platinum albums and singles and citations and statues. Do you think, Michael, it really bothers me that somebody wants to know why I have another name? Isn't that a little bit stupid?
Well, it's common in show business, even with authors, to use different names. I have authors who...
I explain it in the book. Why I did it.
Well, they don't read. They watch. They watch videos. They don't read.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Who am I? My name is Mike. And then once you've established that basic premise of identity, then you can begin to figure out what it is about what we talked about tonight has either any value or any probity. And if it has some value, then certainly I hope to pique your interest. And if you're not, that's fine too. That's cool. Hey, I got other things to do. I'm working on... we haven't had a chance to talk about the Madam Mig project. I was going to bring you up to date on that.
Oh, yes, please do.
Well, no, I don't know. It's too quick. I don't know, maybe. I'm working on I've changed it. Instead of doing a feature film, I'm going to redirect it, rewrite it, reshoot it as a 2-day, 4-hour miniseries. Because I'm covering 60 years of critical history. Her life story. So we'll do 96 minutes on the first day, and on the second day we'll do another 96 minutes. And that'll give us two full hours of programming on 2 days. And I'll share the script with you guys too if you like. All right? Great script.
Okay.
All right. So that's taking most of my time right now. Besides, I'm doing lecturing, doing interviews like yours, and I need to start writing some more articles. I haven't written any in a long time. So I appreciate everybody hanging on tonight. I appreciate the thoughts and your prayers. And if I've said something to wrinkle your feathers, I apologize. However, reality is reality. And I call the shots as I see them. I'm not politically correct on most things, by the way. So, Michael, don't ask me to do certain things that I will not do that I think are politically correct. Okay?
All right.
All right.
All right.
So, each of you just think about tonight. You spent time with us. You must have had some reason for hanging on. And when it comes to family and friends, be very careful that you take each person into account as a human being and as a presence and as a soul. Each person has dignity and pride. Each person has weaknesses. And each person has good things and bad things about them that you either like or dislike. However, the same goes for you. Feel what goes around comes around. So the first thing we have to do is get along with ourselves, which means we don't abuse our bodies, drugs, things, alcohol, sex, whatever. The second thing is that we have to respect others. Now, when it comes to family members, the web gets even tighter, as it should. Are you going to record this tonight, Michael?
Oh, it is recorded, and it will be available probably within 10 minutes after we're done here tonight.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. If I can, I'd like to have you make me a CD like you always do. Do
sure.
That?
Oh, sure. Sure will.
Get it off to me. I want to use it in a new presentation. I want to get it up. It's okay. I put it up on the website too.
Oh, absolutely. I encourage it.
All right, buddy. All right, listen. If anybody would like to contact me, go to my website, www.returnofplanetx. I'll take phone calls, 901-236-9660. I'll answer your email. Skipper at att.net. By the way, I get some interesting emails. I know it's from the boys in Washington. I can tell by the lingo. I can tell by the signature. I don't mean written. I mean the signature of the writing. You know, very interesting.
Okay.
We'll have to do a show. We'll have to do a show on that one too. Oh! I got the cutest scene. We got another 2 minutes?
Sure. Yeah, we've got about 4 more.
Let's have fun. Okay. One of the scenes in the screenplay is actually a reality scene from when I first met Marina. I met her at a UFO conference in Tucson, Arizona, in May of 1991, and I had a booth, and I was selling a little tome, about an 18-page booklet on the lecture I was going to give. So there's 8, 9, 10 people in line. I mean, there was hundreds of people. I mean, you've been to a UFO thing, all the gather around tables, and everybody's talking and smoking and carrying on, and they're buying books and they're buying crystals and all this stuff, right? So these two guys, I look up, and there's these two guys that come bopping in. They look just like the Blues Brothers. Dressed just like the Blues, and they had big sunglasses on. But the point is, they weren't Blues Brothers, they were MIBs. Very sophisticated MIBs.